College football week 4. What a weekend it was. Going into the weekend, I wasn't quite sure how many good games we were going to have, but we had so many. And to start us off, I'm joined once again by my dad. We had a Big 12 showdown of massive proportions. Texas Tech and Utah, both at the time top 17 teams in the country. Early on, it was back and forth. There was a bunch of turnovers, and then Texas Tech's quarterback got injured, and the backup Will Hammond came in and played an unbelievable game. Texas Tech ended up winning, and I think that they're in the driver's seat in the Big 12. What do you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me, Justin. Cover some more college football. And yes, Texas Tech was very impressive. That Hammond came off the bench and he got going. And they scored 24 points in the fourth quarter to break away. It was a close game all the way, but Texas Tech really poured it on at the end there. And they did solidify themselves that they are the front runner in the Big 12 to get in the championship game there in Arlington later this season. And then all of us are scrambling to second place to try to get in to play them. But again, they showed they're really good and that, but everybody else is so bunched up behind them. We'll see who makes it in because it's going to be quite a race to the finish line.
Now, as you mentioned, there was a lot of turnovers. I believe there was at one point five turnovers combined. Texas Tech early in the fourth quarter, even before the barrage of points, as you mentioned, they had 9 plays of 10 plus yards, and Utah had zero. So that kind of showed the dominance that Texas Tech had. And I mean, they're really showing all that money they spent on the offseason and the transfer portal, getting a lot of those athletes that they got. It's showing right now, and I really think that they're in the driver's seat in the Big 12. Um, we could get into it now if you want. Big 12 rankings after 4 weeks. What do you have? Obviously, Texas Tech, I'm assuming, is number one. What do you have the rest of the way?
Yeah, number one. But again, various lists have everybody scrambled up quite a different positions. Again, they are so bunched up. So again, it's really tight. But Iowa State, I still have it second. Okay, we've got to play them Saturday, and there's a lot on the line there, and give us a little notoriety in that. But Iowa State, I got second. And TCU, I got third. They were pretty good there on the SMU game. They won that game there. And that so and Hoover's one of their hot quarterbacks and all. He's one of the Heisman guys I'm going to talk about later. BYU got us fourth. They're pretty good. And Houston, I got them pretty highly rated at fifth. They look pretty solid. We're going to have to play them down there in Houston. That's not going to be a picnic. And then I've got us at sixth. We are the only unranked and team that doesn't have any receiving votes or ranked. The other teams that are unranked got receiving votes that are undefeated are Louisville, Houston, UCF, Maryland, Washington, and Mississippi State. But we got no votes, so we are the only Power Four team that's unranked and no votes. I've got ASU seventh. They had a tough game with Baylor. They did pull it out there in Waco. KU looked really strong this week too. I've got them at eighth. UCF also as unranked, but they got some votes. They're ninth. I got them. Cincinnati is 10th. Utah dropped all the way to 11th in that. And then Baylor at 12th, and West Virginia 13th, K State 14th, and Colorado 15th, and Oklahoma State 16th.
That's quite the list. Obviously, Mike Gundy, his job security it's very questionable now in Stillwater with that upset that Tulsa was able to pull off. I was in Tulsa earlier this past weekend, and they were very fired up about that. The Golden Hurricane have a lot to celebrate, beating normal dominant team in the Big 12, but things will have to change there in Stillwater. I'd have to agree with that list. The Big 12, it's a very deep conference. I think it's just below the Big 10 and the SEC in terms of dominance. The other conference that is one of the Power Four, the ACC, had a huge upset this past weekend. Syracuse and Clemson. Syracuse got off to an early start. They went up 10-0 after getting a successful onside kick after their early touchdown. And I think Clemson, it's really time to hit the panic meter. They're 1-3. I very well think that they'll be this year's Florida State. Last year, obviously, Florida State went into the year ranked in the top 10 and fell all the way out and had one of the worst seasons in Florida State history. So I think Clemson, it's Dabo Sweeney even mentioned that they'll be lucky to make a bowl game. I don't really think his potential of getting fired is there just because he's had such a great run there for Clemson. But I definitely think after this season, there will be a lot of question marks surrounding what he'll do in the future.
Yeah, one thing maybe is to see he's got a late start on this transfer portal stuff, and he still thinks it's like the 90s and that it's a lot different world out there. So he's going to have to get ultra modern and learn it's a different world than it was a long time ago. And I think that's probably his real concern because he's got that effervescent personality. He can recruit kids and everything, but it's just he has to figure out it's different now in a different world. And I think he'll improve if he figures that out because I think he may only go 5-7. He's thinking 6-6, but I don't think he'll make a bowl. 5-7 is probably going to be where they'll go this year.
Now, something that's going to be on the radar throughout this entire season is who will make the playoff as a group of five team. Now, the standings for that, we have multiple teams that are undefeated. One of the teams that I want to mention, Memphis being 4-0, they pulled off an unbelievable close game win against Arkansas that came down to the wire. Arkansas was driving, pretty much had the game wrapped up. They were just going to kick the field goal and win, but Missouri was able to force a fumble. Arkansas ran the ball because there was a little over a minute left, and that pretty much iced the game. Memphis at 4-0, UNLV 4-0, North Texas 4-0, Navy 4-0, and UCF 3-1. Any other teams in that group of five you got your eyes on?
Yeah, Navy and North Texas there, Memphis, all in the American. That's the strongest of the group of five. So either you run the table or you have one loss, and they're only going to take one. I would like to see two, but it's probably going to one of those teams. I did predict Navy, but I think Memphis might be the Cinderella one. They could be the biggie because that game was dramatic and the fans that came running out on the field. It's a big deal there in the Liberty Bowl there stadium and that. So Memphis might be the team. South Florida, a lot of people are high on after they won, but they did lose to Miami though. So you almost have to go perfect in the G5 to do it. But there's only just like three or four teams left that are undefeated in the G5.
Definitely a team that could is on a roll right now and definitely could make the playoff. Oklahoma had a very impressive win against Auburn. Oklahoma with 10 sacks on the season so far, and or in that game actually, and on the season they have even more than that. John Mateer, as we'll get to in the Heisman, I'm sure we both have him. If not number one, he's definitely in the top five. He's a clear number one Heisman for me. Spoiler alert. Oklahoma played great down the stretch. That defense, they got that safety, pretty much the game-winning safety. I know you love to see those. We got a lot of those back in our playing days, and yeah, that was a huge SEC matchup, the first of many on Saturday night.
Oh yeah, there'll be plenty like next week. I was looking at next week's schedule. There was some controversy though. Oh, you pulled a hideout play where the guy was near the sideline and that, and they didn't catch until too late. But there has been some controversy about that. It might have been the difference in the game. But there's always some thing like that. You don't want to blame the refs or anything. Everybody makes an oversight or something, but there was a little controversy about that. So you just have to go with the flow and know there are mistakes in that. But it was a kind of a hideout that you usually don't pull a hideout play very often anymore. But there was that hideout, but still, you did win. So, but again, that was just something that was that we had happened.
Another game in the SEC that was a big time game for the Missouri Tigers, a win over South Carolina, 29-20. Missouri ran all over them, 287 rushing yards. Ahmad Hardy is my player of the week. He had 22 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown. This pretty much knocks South Carolina out of the playoff contention. Your thoughts on the Mizzou Tigers so far this season?
Oh, they look really good. I mean, there's like what 10, 11 ranked teams in the SEC, so they're just bunched in there, and they're one of really good teams. And we'll see how it shakes up as the season goes along, but they look really strong. And again, and they're loaded there in the SEC.
Now, before we get to our Heisman top five and this week five look ahead, looking at the games, I wanted to play a little game here on the Rombough Show. Now, I have some teams that I'm going to ask you whether you think that they are a contender or a pretender. And first, I'll start off with the USC Trojans. They have Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, and Oregon left on the schedule. Do you think they will are going to be able to squeeze out a playoff berth?
And they're undefeated now, aren't they?
Yeah,
And they got Illinois, I think, coming up next week, don't they?
yeah.
And yeah, I thought I saw when I was going through that. That would be tough. You say Oregon and Penn State, they'd have to win. They
Oregon,
can probably,
Michigan, Notre Dame. They don't have Penn State
okay, Oregon, Michigan, and Notre Dame.
and
Those are
Illinois.
their big three. If they
Yeah.
win all three, they're in the playoffs, basically.
Yeah, I think they'll squeeze by Oregon. I don't think they will, but Notre Dame, I think they will. Michigan, I think it's going to be a coin toss, but do you think they're a contender or a pretender?
I think they're actually a contender, Justin, because with the schedule you mentioned in that, they probably will take four teams. They could be one of the teams. Although Indiana caught everybody by surprise because they really bombed Illinois, and we thought Illinois was going to grab a playoff like we did in an earlier podcast. Looks like Indiana may be in there again. So they're a contender, SC is, but it's going to be close.
Next, who do you think out of Texas being a contender or a pretender?
Oh, they're struggling right now. What's their record? They got two losses.
They got one loss to Alabama or Ohio State in week one. They've won every other game, but they've beaten teams like UTSA and Sam Houston State. So they're 3-1, I believe. But
Okay. And okay, so who they got left on their schedule?
the tough games that I wanted to mention, they have Oklahoma, Vandy, Georgia, and Texas A&M.
Vandy, everybody's mentioning them now. They have really pulled up. Even Alabama, they say, "Oh yeah, Vandy's on the schedule. Look out." Um, actually, yeah, because Ohio State, that's that first game. They could still come through and win the rest of them and still get in because Ohio State was a non-conference game. I think I would give them a contender as well, Justin, because you never know. I mean, the thing is, though, their quarterback, everybody's complaining about Arch and that. So if he doesn't pan out and they struggle, because I think when they played UTEP, he got booed. So if he can't handle those big boys, they could be out. But let's give them a contender. I like to give the benefit of the doubt on these teams, but it's going to be tough. Arch has to really come through.
What about Tennessee?
Tennessee. Oh, that's right. We predicted them 6-6, but they're doing pretty good. They lost one game, right?
They lost to Georgia in that overtime game. So they're
Oh,
three
that's
and one.
right. And Georgia's going to be way up there. Yeah. What's Tennessee ranked? They're ranked up there, aren't they?
I think they might be. I think they're 20. All these
20.
teams are ranked that I'm bringing up are ranked. So
Okay, they're ranked. Okay, I'm again, let's say a contender, but the SEC is so loaded that you don't want to bounce anybody out because they all 10 of them can't make it. But let's say a contender, but it's so many there.
Georgia Tech.
Oh, Tech, they're in the ACC. Now Syracuse won, they beat Clemson. Is Tech, what are they doing? They're what are they, three and
I think they're undefeated because
oh, they're under
they beat. I think that their only test left on their schedule is Georgia, and right now they're ranked 16. They're 4-0. They've beaten Temple, Clemson, Gardner-Webb, and Colorado. So they're undefeated, and their last test pretty much is Georgia in the week.
Georgia, and it's all ACC pretty much, in Georgia's non-conference, and so Georgia wouldn't hurt them in the standings and all. Syracuse and Georgia Tech could be duking it out for the championship there. They probably only take one team, so I would say contender, and it could be the two of them may go from the ACC.
Well,
But yeah, I'm gonna
Syracuse,
still
they're
go with them on the
one.
contender, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. I was just gonna mention that Syracuse, their quarterback did sustain a season-ending injury, so that could kind of shake up things for the Orange.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah, but Tech steamrolled when their Q went out. So we'll give them a chance and see. They did beat Clemson at Clemson, so I'll still go contender with Georgia Tech. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
Two left for this game. The second to last one being Michigan.
And what's their record?
They're 3-1. Their loss was to Oklahoma primetime.
And the rest of them were other teams then. Okay. Um, and who they got on their schedule left?
The biggest games they have left is USC, as I mentioned, and Ohio State.
That's it. So they missed like Indiana and Penn State and all them. Oh, wow, that's right, because they could slip in because they miss all these teams. Like we're gonna miss Tech and TCU and all them. Yeah, let's give them contender because they got this schedule. Because yeah,
They were saying that Michigan, their ceiling is very high because they have a freshman quarterback who's only going to get better, and he's looked pretty good so far. They just ran
okay,
against the juggernaut in OU, so I have the
okay,
same as well. The only part that we have disagreed on so far is I don't have Texas as a contender. I think it's just going to be too
okay,
difficult for their schedule. They have Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Texas A&M, as I mentioned. I think being a three-loss Texas team, I don't know if they get in. And
yeah.
last but not least, Mizzou. Mizzou is undefeated, and they had a huge game this past weekend where they beat South Carolina, as I mentioned. And the rest of their schedule, the toughest games: Bama, Vandy, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma.
Well, that's another that I'm going to say contender again, Justin, because you never know that SEC. I mean, they got to always have to play somebody. So just give them all a chance, and maybe somebody will squeeze through because 10 of them are ranked. Some of those, like you mentioned, they might make it, they may not. So I'll give them contender for all of them. You never know.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Heisman race so far before we do the week 5 games and our picks for that.
Okay.
Well, I'll do my
Okay.
picks later in the week, but I'll get your picks at least. So for me, I'll start us out. Last week in my top 5, I had John Mateer as number 1. At number 2, I had Carson Beck, but I'm going to flip him with my number 3, Jeremiah Smith, just because I think Jeremiah Smith, he's been playing really well this season. He's one of the best players in the country on the best team in the country so far in Ohio State. Carson Beck had a little bit of a bad game against Florida, but I'll still give him the number 3 slot. And then number 4, Dante Moore for Oregon. He has some opportunities coming up this season. This weekend, Penn State, it'll be a big moment for him. Oregon really hasn't played anybody yet. Then they have Indiana later in the year to show another Heisman moment for him potentially. And then last but not least, Gunnar Stockton, the Georgia quarterback. He had 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions when they beat Tennessee. He has a lot of moments left in the season with Bama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Texas, and Georgia Tech left on the schedule for the Bulldogs. So he has a lot of opportunities. And an honorable mention that I wanted to bring up: Fernando Mendoza for Indiana had 5 touchdowns against Illinois, and he's climbing up the ranks. Kirk Cignetti, the Indiana coach, he's a great coach. He took them all the way to the playoff after being one of the worst teams in 2023. So those are my top 5 and an honorable mention.
Okay, I got similar ones. Of course, Mateer out of OU tops. Joey Aguilar out of Tennessee. He's pretty good. And that Dante Moore, like you said. And then Fernando Mendoza did pop up on the radar screen and they won so big. I saw that game, I couldn't believe it. So Indiana, nobody was penciling them in for the playoffs. Now everybody's penciling them in. This Sengeti guy is a really good coach. He should get some kind of they'll probably name the stadium after him if he coaches there long enough. Carson Beck, Miami, got him. And then honorable Jeremiah Smith, OSU, the wide receiver. Josh Hoover at TCU. They won. He's pretty good and all. We're gonna. We don't have to play them unless we make the playoffs. But and Marcel Reed there at Texas A&M too are some of the honorable mentions. But there's a lot of good ones. Those should be the leaders of that. Yeah.
And as you mentioned, this leads us perfectly into week 5. The first game I have on the slate that I think people need to keep their eye on: TCU at ASU. I think this could be a potential upset. Everybody kind of had ASU written off after losing earlier in the season to Mississippi State, but I think TCU could be in trouble. Tempe's, I think it's a Friday night game. It's going to be a wild environment there in Arizona State Stadium. And your thoughts? Do you think ASU has a potential chance to upset?
It's going to be a really close game there. It's at Tempe. You're right. It's on a Friday there. A big game, going to be close. Again, they're both upper echelon teams. I'm sure they'll both get bowls in that. So it's going to be close like the Baylor game was with Tempe on last this past week and all. So TCU is good, but so is ASU, and it'll be a good game.
Now, looking at the ESPN app right now, ASU is favored by 2.5, actually. So, do you think they'll cover the 2.5, or do you have TCU covering that 2.5?
I think it'll be I think TCU can cover that.
Yeah, that'll be I'll write that down for your pick for that
Mhm.
game. The next game is the game we've been looking for 2 weeks, looking ahead to this one. We've marked it on our calendars, especially after that K-State win. Arizona, Iowa State. Right now, Iowa State is favored by 5.5. Your thoughts for that game? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think Arizona has to do to get a victory?
Actually, we're going to cover that. I think we can take them. The thing is, this is our coming out party because, like I say, we're the only team in undefeated that's not getting any votes or anything, and we're going to get some attention. And I think we're pretty good because Iowa State hasn't been exactly bombing teams out. You know, they're winning, but they're not bombing them. And our defense is unheralded. Nobody's talking about it much. Well, we've only given up 29 points all year. And so we're doing really good. And I think that our D will be the difference, and we should win that game and that. But it's gonna and it will change the Big 12 standings if we can do it. Maybe in the bowl assignments because well, I can do the bowls later on. We can talk about that. But anyway, I think we got a chance to cover it and get some exposure and respect.
Next up, USC, Illinois. USC is favored by 6.5 at Illinois.
I think USC is going to take that one. Illinois isn't as good as we anticipated after they got beat real bad by Indiana in that. And SC is going to notice that in the films and know what to do. So Illinois is really struggling now, but I'll take USC.
Another SEC matchup, top 13 teams. LSU is going to visit Ole Miss. Ole Miss is actually favored 1.5, even though LSU is ranked number 4 in the country. Do you think Ole Miss will be able to pull that off and cover, or do you think it'll be LSU?
Ole Miss will cover it. It's at Oxford there. I think they'll do it. Although LSU's got a good team, but Ole Miss, that's their arch rival. They really go at it, and I'm sure they'll be fired up. And I think Ole Miss will do it.
Yeah, LSU's offense has really struggled. Right now, in yards per game, they're 71st in the FBS, and their defense, although is playing really well, the Ole Miss offense right now is averaging 543 yards per game, which is ninth in the country. So, I mean, I think that's a great pick. I'll have my picks later in the week, but Ole Miss, a great pick, as Lee
Okay.
Corso would say. Now, Oregon and Penn State, this is the one, this is the marquee matchup of the weekend. Uh,
Okay.
these two teams, they very well could decide. This could be the Big Ten championship game very well if things don't go the way for Ohio State. Right now, Penn State is favored at 3.5. I believe it's going to be a whiteout game. I'm pretty sure, but I'll have to fact check that. But Ohio State, Penn State, who do you have winning, and who do you think will cover?
Uh, that means Penn State's probably wearing white, so Oregon's going to load up in their green outfits, I guess. I would. Well, that's going to be a close game. I'm going to go with Penn State on that one, and it's going to come down. The Big Ten, I think, will come down to Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State. Two of those three should make the play each other for the championship. But because this is like a bowl positioning game or a playoff positioning game in their case.
Yeah, I definitely agree with two of the four teams making it. Now, last but not least, for the schedule this weekend, we have Alabama going to visit Georgia. Georgia is favored by 2.5 at home. What do you have for this game?
They'll cover it. Yeah, I mean Alabama's good, but I mean Georgia's really good, and then Athens are really tough there. Yeah.
So, just to recap, you have Arizona winning, TCU covering that 2.5, USC taking care of business against Illinois, Ole Miss beating LSU, Penn State taking care of business, and Georgia. We'll have to see if those come true. Now, before we wrap up, you mentioned some playoff and bowl game implications. What's changed so far since last week?
Well, there's usually three bowl things I look up and find them, and it changes every week. And so, just so I know the other Arizona fans probably wonder about that, but one has us playing in the Holiday Bowl against SMU because it's against an ACC team, so that would be a real challenge to play them. And the Sun Bowl is a ACC, and they project us to play Notre Dame in the Sun Bowl. One of them does, so that'd be a huge opportunity to go to El Paso and play them. And one has us in the Hawaii Bowl against Boise State, which would be another huge opportunity. So if we continue to have success and get a bowl, there's major opportunities, different bowls than that we can go to. And again, I check three every week. They come out like Monday morning or so, or even Sunday actually. So it's kind of fun looking at it, especially last year we didn't do well and didn't get any invite. But this year it's kind of fun and that. So that was the main thing in the bowls. A lot of people have playoffs. I don't have a listing of the playoff teams in that. I don't know if you had a listing of that. I didn't mark them down, but it's the usuals that you have. They're loaded up in the SEC, tons of them. Big Ten, again, there's a whole bunch. And of course, the Big 12, it could be anybody too. So there's, like I say, 20 or 30 teams in the playoffs. So some people are predicting the 12 that'll go, but I didn't make any predictions because it's so up in the air.
Now, out of those three potential bowl matchups, which one would you most likely, or which one would be the one that you would want to travel to, and then which team would you want to play the most out of those
Oh,
three?
the Holiday Bowl is played at Snapdragon Stadium, which is the bowl, the where the Jack Murphy Stadium used to be, and they tore it down and rebuilt it. And that's where San Diego State plays now because the Chargers moved. So it's just San Diego State. I like to go to that. But Notre Dame, I'd like to see.
Yeah, I
That
think
would be the
Notre Dame
best.
in the Sun Bowl
Mhm.
would be fun. We've
Yeah.
already seen Boise State twice, and we haven't really had the game go that we want to. So I think Notre Dame would be fun, and I think SMU would be fun too. But we'll have to see. It could change very well this weekend, depending on what happens with Iowa State. I think a lot of people have us losing that game, but that's kind of the position that I like Arizona be, just coming in under the radar. So we'll have to see what happens.
Okay.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah. One thing is, oh, I'm losing my voice, Justin. Give me a minute here. Is I watched some of these bottom 25 teams. They put them in there, and I was hope they pull up. And Kennesaw State is one in Georgia there, and they pulled up and won a couple of games, and they're out of the bottom 25. They beat Arkansas State and one another. So shout out to Kennesaw State. And Tulsa, of course, they beat Oklahoma State, and they were not projected to do anything. So they won a couple of games. And Akron was down the bottom, and they beat Duquesne, and they won a game. So I keep track of those teams. I like to see when a bottom 25 team wins, stick up for the guys there. And I wish they wouldn't publish a bottom 25, but I stick up for them.
I
So
didn't even know that was a thing. So that's a pretty cool way to wrap up college football week four reactions. And week five is going to be one for the books. This has been the Rombough Show. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll have more content coming this week, so stay tuned.
thanks again, Justin. Mhm.